What's up, and welcome back to another SPL recap. We have been gone for a little while, it feels like, but I guess maybe it was only a week. I don't know. It
Yeah.
feels longer than that. But we have a lot of action to go over. Um, I'm about to ask my co-host Hamilton a question that he's completely unprepared for, but considering that he is the one true oracle of SPL, who's winning the championship?
I was not prepared for that question of all of them. Um, can I request some data before I just jump right into that?
I mean,
I
I
just want
don't.
to look at the bracket is what I literally just
I don't want
um,
you to. I mean, you can. I don't know what your methods are, but whatever they are, they are working because, in general, we have had a horrid time trying to predict anything, um, in this league, and Hamilton has turned that around in the back half of the season and turned into the absolute goat. So, but anyway, uh,
my apologies to Colin.
yeah, that is the only thing that did not hit. I will say definitively that your Colin Preds did not hit. So
Yeah.
shouts out to Colin out there, one of the two people probably listening. But I believed in you all this time. I think that's my only Pred that has hit. Um, but let's go ahead. Like I said, we have a ton of results to go over. So we're just gonna dive into this table, and try and remember anything about week 7. So match one, we had Grant with the lemons versus Ham and Donkey's nuts. Do you remember anything about this perfect tie, Ham?
I remember I was excited. Grant's got a good team. He's got the meta comp. We pulled out. I think we won the first game and lost the second.
Mm-hmm.
And I was excited that we won the first game. I think we went to Thunder Island and lost, if I'm remembering correctly. There's a good chance I'm not.
That tracks.
Um, but I was excited to tie Grant. He's a good team. I think he finished second overall, so
Mm-hmm.
not gonna be upset with a tie there.
Yeah, and like you said, Grant, coincidentally, has been on the meta pretty much the entire season. I actually was talking to him this morning, and he told me that I think his team started off. I actually have the team selections right here. He started off week 1 with Boo, Dry Bones, and Shy Guy. That was his week 1 team, and then in week 2 he pivoted to he still had Boo, Dry Bones, and Shy Guy, and then in week 3 he pivoted to Boo, Dry Bones, and Toad. And I was talking to him about how quickly he actually got to the meta comp, and that was actually by accident. When he submitted his week 3 roster where he brought in Toad, he thought he was submitting the same team. And then he never made a single change for the rest of the season. And now in week 7 and 8, we saw so many teams out there running Boo, Dry Bones, and Toad and getting good results.
Yeah,
But I think you were running double Dry Bones and Toad for this.
I think
Um,
so.
and I think we're going to see that matchup, play out with different captains many times in the playoffs. I think that those are kind of the two most meta comps that people have landed on. So not super surprising to have it play out to a 0-0 tie.
Yeah.
Um, from that, we went to a very off meta matchup. Adam with the triple Hammer Bros versus Eric with the triple Shy Guys. Um, Credits to you for picking the tie for this. I think I was Eric pilled after the win against Jacob, but you saw through the BS. What made you pick the tie here?
I I think that my thought process going into this week was that in week 6, I think it was, Garrett got did really well predicting a bunch of wins,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're gonna regress back to the mean, and by sure we did, because I just picked ties essentially. I think I also was bummed from my results in week 6 where I got a tie, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just like everything's a tie now.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it paid off. Interestingly enough, I'm looking at the goal difference, and you actually were further off than Freddie and me. It actually was a was a plus 1 for Adam. Actually, I don't know why I'm looking at another screen. I can see it right there. But you still got the correct result in the end of the day, and you you actually got the next one correct as well. We had Garrett and Freddie on the podcast, and both of them picked themselves, and I got swayed by the Bowser team, and once again you got the tie. I'm trying to remember what Garrett was running at this point because obviously, no, that was the game when Freddie put the Monty in.
Yeah.
So I think they
Can I
were.
also?
Go ahead.
I would love to know what Freddy's note is, because I forgot about this.
Um, Freddie's prediction was, when it comes to my season as a whole, I will have never played Daisy. And now that Daisy is on Eric's team, I will have gone the entire season without playing a captain. And then he predicted Ty. Oh, no, he got it right. He got it
Go
right.
off, Fred. You're welcome, Freddy.
If you had not asked for that, that would have gotten buried into the buried into the history books. Oh, but shouts out to Fred for getting that prediction right, and he was pretty close in the goal difference too.
Yeah.
Um, Next game we pretty much almost all got it correct except Fred. Jacob's late season slump did not turn around at all against David. Um, I don't really know if you have anything more to say about that series.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I'm sorry.
I played Shell in the worst tie possibly of the season. I think it would be hard for me to remember a +7 tie.
I will state that I was blown away when I woke up in the morning because I didn't stay and watch the rest of these games.
Mm-hmm.
And I woke up in the morning to the updated table, and I'm like, okay, Austin should have beaten Shell and jumped away from us in the standings, especially because I talked to you about lineups.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that you hadn't jumped away in points, but the goal differential of +7 was mind blowing to the point I think I actually texted you when I woke up. Um, and to Colin, who does know this, but any other listener, that's 4 a.m. Eastern time. So I definitely texted Austin really early in the morning, be like, "How the heck did you tie with a +7? Like that doesn't make sense."
Must
And
be
he
a
texted me
typo,
back,
huh?
"Yeah, I really thought like, okay, the points are right, and there's just someone messed up with the goal differential. No, +7 tie. I've watched the game. I'm still uncertain of how it happened. Um,
My theory is it actually was Big Mario. And not because Big Mario scored any goals, but like I went up 4-0 in the first minute, and then for the entire rest of the game, he just had his special all the time. And
I
so
see.
like, he didn't score with it, but also during those times, I don't think a goal's pretty much ever been conceded when Big Mario or Big Luigi's on the field. So my team just couldn't play the game for 3 minutes.
It
And
is.
the bros ate.
I'm putting together that when he's big, even if he's not, like most people want to use their item to score a goal,
Hmm.
but it's really hard to score against a big Mario because at least probably two of your players are dazed at any point in time,
Right.
and then you're playing 2v4 with a big guy who's not good, but at least he's big.
I mean, he has the ball pretty much all the time during that, and so it's actually
Yeah,
really good for killing clock.
yeah,
Which ideally your special would do more than that, but at least it has some efficacy. Where
yeah,
like you compare that to Daisy's, which I think
yeah.
has like literally zero efficacy. What's pretty funny is you, me, and Garrett all predicted me to win, and if you add our goal differences predictions, it is only equal to what the actual goal difference was in a tie. Um, but that's just how
Freddie
the
got up
you did still not high enough.
there.
And then the
Freddie
last
with a plus
game
five.
was actually another surprising tie. Um, Danny was one of the few teams all season, to steal points from Colin. That was a big tie from Danny, but at that point his season had kind of already been sunk by his tragic week previously that I think we talked about in pretty good detail the last
Yeah,
time we were here. But absolutely crazy week of 6 ties. I think the kind of cool thing about that was that we had a pretty crazy playoff picture after week 6. and like
Yeah.
we were all like, oh, like what's gonna happen like after week 7? Like literally nothing changed. So we just kept the exact same stakes, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
um I do not believe that David got those correct, so I'm just gonna mark all of his right. I'm sure he predicted some, but I don't.
I believe that Dave told me at some point that was. Did we watch week 7 at your place? No.
No, I saw him doing it while it was going.
Yes. At some point, I was told that his predictions were post the game happening. Um, and so I don't know if that what week that was for, but since that's the only week with them, I'm gonna guess it was that week.
Yeah. Plus, I'm not buying it. By then he could know the rosters that are getting put out on the field. He could know the maps. It's just,
Yeah.
it's not the same as doing it live. It's just not the same. Um, so that took us into week 8 with pretty much, everything to play for. Pretty much all the stakes that we outlined in the last episode were still true. There were 6 teams, very competitively vying for the 5 playoff spots, and still top 4 up for grabs. And we saw, I'm gonna try and take a look. I think the table shakeup from week 7 to week 8 is something absolutely crazy. I want to see
I
if I
mean,
go ahead.
I'm just remembering us all locking in Colin and Grant, which ended up being very valid, and I would
Hmm.
have been amazed if they would have fallen out. And then we locked in Mr. Monty, and
Yeah,
in the end, Mr. Monty fell all the way down to 7th, remaining on, I think it was 15 points or something of the sorts.
yeah. Couldn't
Um,
have been much more. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, these were our projected
prediction table.
standings, based off the combination of all of our predictions, which I guess is a bit of a leak considering we haven't even actually gone over week 8 results yet.
Mm,
but,
yeah,
but and also too, the schedule for this is entirely different than how it actually played out.
yeah, that's irrelevant.
Yeah, yeah. Doesn't matter at all. Um well, actually, let's go to the run of the results, and then we
Yeah,
can just reference the Preds later because I feel like that's extremely relevant. um but anyway, we started off with a absolute nothing game of Adam versus Shell. It didn't end up being a hammer bro off, if I remember correctly.
Shell made a single change,
Yeah,
added somebody.
he added a somebody, um, which is true, and was equally. I mean, you could have told me it was anyone, and it would have been just as inconsequential. Both these teams,
Yeah,
were pretty much out of playoffs, barring the most crazy miracle that I don't even know is mathematically possible.
I don't think
Um,
it was.
yeah, and so that game really didn't matter. And then Shell turned it around the next game and got absolutely flattened.
Wow.
I think that is a tied record of the highest goal difference across the whole season of +9. Do you want a quick trivia question of what the only other series with a +9 goal difference is?
Is it? I want to say Grant's involved, and that's as much as I can go. I want to say
That's
it's.
that's a great guess. The only hint that I'll give you is that it's a very funny one.
I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna find it.
That is all right. It is week 3. It is
Oh,
the infamous Hammer Bro game against Garrett, which is so funny because like at some point during the season I was like, was that Hammer Bro game like really that bad? And yes, it was. That is still the craziest result that the bottom 2 teams played, and Adam won with a +9 goal difference. Only ever repeated by probably our top team versus our bottom team. But
yeah.
that was an absolute flattening. Um, Next game was a good bit more of the same. Grant versus Danny. not too much surprise there. Grant was able to get the win and maintain his undefeated streak going into his last game. Um, and then next one was Colin versus David, which ended in a +1 tie. Um, I don't know,
It was
like,
big.
go ahead.
Would have been big for Dave. Just some foreshadowing to get a tie there.
Yeah.
Kept him alive. Um, but ended up in the end not mattering. He needed the win, and he didn't get it. And
I think you're confused.
am I?
Yeah.
Did Dave? Did Dave not? Oh yes, never mind. Big for Dave. Big for Dave.
Yeah.
Was big for Dave. Is still big for Dave. The tie is what allowed him to stay in playoffs. That's
Yeah.
my apologies.
Yeah, the opposite foreshadowing. It was very, very impactful. Getting that was huge because he was a point back from you, me, and Eric, I
Eric.
believe,
Yep.
going into playoffs. And so getting that tie was huge because I think in one of the previous weeks, back in week 6, when everyone a lot of like when you and me and like other people got points, he just lost. And so that
Yep.
tie against Colin right there made the gap up. And most teams that have played against Colin, not anyone in this call here, but most teams have taken that L. um so next game was a huge result for you. I was unable to get it done against the Hammer Bro team. You got it done against the other one. How are you feeling after that game?
That game was the start of the true chaos. I
Yep.
won that game and I was like, sweet, I've locked in playoffs. I probably have a good chance of top 4. We're doing great. There's nothing really I've got to worry about anymore. And then everything changed because Freddy showed up. And if you
Hmm.
watch the stream, it's a quality moment when Freddy shows up. It probably takes us about 30 minutes between the moment that Freddy is arriving to starting the next game, just because of the chaos that ensued outside of the stream. Um, no fault of anybody, genuinely. Just some unfortunate timing, and but genuinely was feeling pretty good. I expected a win there,
Hmm.
but once again after last week, 6 ties, anything's possible.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean that definitely gave you a lot of security. It was gonna have to be something funky for you to not make playoffs, but it put you both, well in the playoff picture, and then with potential, but probably not likelihood to get top 4, just because Jacob was still sitting so sweetly in that spot.
yeah,
Um, Next game was the Forbidden PD Rimmer game, which is iconic for other reasons than implications on the table. So we'll just jump to Danny versus Freddie and Jacob versus Freddie. I thought that Double Dry Bones was kind of the type of team to win some, lose, well, probably win some, but tie a lot more than they would win. And the fact
yeah,
that Freddie got back to back wins, I think is really scary. And the
yeah,
string of those two results catapulted him all the way up into third place in the table.
yeah.
How are you feeling about double dry bones? I mean, not double, triple dry bones as a team.
I I think it is a very viable team. I am curious to see what it looks like in playoffs, knowing that we're gonna ban maps.
Right.
Um, I do think that if your captain cannot shoot, you need at least one dry bones on your team, if not two.
Mm-hmm.
3 probably won't hurt you that much. You're gonna score some goals. The question is, can you move the ball to actually? If you have a passing captain, I think it's not a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Which is like the interesting thing about Freddy is that, Waluigi also has the same statistics as dry bones. So he is effectively running 4 dry bones out there, except one of them can't use his skill shot, which is super important.
Yeah,
Um, but it seems to be working. I am very curious. I feel like other teams could potentially exploit, the fact that his team isn't very well rounded with map picks, but we'll see if that actually happens. But I mean, in terms of the second half of the season, I don't think anyone's actually hotter than he is.
I don't know that I would disagree with that fact.
Yeah, let's see. He beat Adam, tied Colin, tied Garrett, beat you, and then
3-0 and 3,
tied Grant, tied
3-0
me.
and 4, 3-0 and 5. He was on the tying streak.
Yeah. Did he ever lose?
No.
No, he never lost. Wow, for some reason,
Austin out here claiming stuff
yeah.
that's not even true.
Which Freddie didn't even know that. Freddie has no idea that he's undefeated. Well,
Let me,
that's even scarier.
yeah, yeah.
Holy shit. Well, watch out for Freddie in the playoffs. Um, but anyway, yeah, he jumped into third place.
Freddie has a loss. Freddie does have a loss.
Who did he lose to?
I don't know. I just have him down as a loss. He's 4-1 and 6.
Oh, he lost to Colin. He lost to Colin. That was the own goal game.
Aha.
So yeah,
Bastard.
we just misread that. Okay, suck it. I am the only undefeated team. Um, take that, Freddie. Uh, which my team proved. Against Jacob. Jacob continues his downward plummet. You know, you talk about tale of two teams, Freddie being the hottest team in the season. Jacob is stone cold. If you were playing Jacob in the playoffs, would you have any fears?
I would have some fears just because there is no controlling what you do.
Mm-hmm.
I think that you have a lot of control over what happens before the game, but once that whistle blows, in my opinion, the most frequent result is a tie.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you're probably going to go 1-1 in the first two games, and you got to win the third one. And that's just never a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which is the beauty of the game. But I would be less worried about playing Jacob than I would most other teams.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we'll have to see. I need to run the numbers on it, but I think actually the balance of wins and ties across the whole season is going to be very close.
yeah, I forgot
So
about that.
the
Yeah,
final week sort of restored the balance a little bit because I'm pretty sure we were even going into week 7, and then
yeah,
there were 6 ties, 3 ties, and then 9 wins.
just perfectly even.
I believe so, but still, you're right. There's a lot of ties, and especially when teams of the same caliber play against each other,
Yeah,
then that number probably goes way up. Like if you went in between the playoff teams and ran those numbers, I think it would be, probably like 60-70% ties at least. So, what you said still holds true. But I do think that, Jacob very definitively needs to make changes in his team. And I also don't know if he really has enough time. Because I think I mean, he's 2 changes off the meta. Um,
yeah.
so that's scary for him. Um, Next game was Grant versus Garrett, and this was, you said that your win was the start of the chaos. This was, really put everything into perspective that anyone was eligible for playoffs because Garrett pretty much needed to win out to, have any sort of guarantee. And getting this win against Grant was absolutely massive. That was Grant's first loss of the season, and the Bowser team was looking terrifying.
Yeah.
Um, we can talk more about them, in terms of their playoff potential, just because they still had some more games later, and at this point their fate wasn't sealed. Um, but I still think. Do you still have Grant's team kind of like on the same pedestal going into the playoffs?
I think that Grant's team didn't show well against Garrett, and that is a
Mm-hmm.
concerning factor.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Grant's team has shown repetitively well against every other team, and so I think that I am going to keep them on the same pedestal. Bowser
Mm-hmm.
Jr. is good. The meta has been on that team for a long time. They got chemistry,
Yeah.
the thing that exists in video games. But I genuinely think that they are a top team as shown by the where they're sitting in the standings. I think Garrett's team is scary. Um, to jump around a little bit, I liked it a lot better when you had beaten Garrett and he was sitting on the outside just because I felt safer. No shot at Garrett there.
Yep.
Um, but I think that the decision that was made in the end is the correct decision. Even if it makes the chances of making the playoffs a little bit harder because Eric's not in and Garrett is.
Yeah.
Uh,
For context, there's a game that's not reflected on the scoreboard here where my team absolutely rinsed Garrett's team. My lineup for the first game was Dry Bones, Toad in midfield, and then Boo in defense. And I was supposed to be running double Dry Bones in midfield and Toad in the back against Garrett. And I accidentally just put a Dry Bones in and forgot to swap out the Toad and Boo because I thought I just made one roster change, but I forgot that I made a roster change and a positional change. So that was on me. Like you said, right call to have it replayed because it's a simulation. It needs to be run properly for the games to be valid. Um, but to what you said, the playoffs are even more stacked now, and I
yeah.
do think that we have the definitive best 8 teams in the playoffs, um, which is going to make things really interesting.
So we'll state that as a result, Eric got bumped out. And in case a stranger is watching this, I think it's great that Eric is the one that got bumped out because Eric is the one that gave Garrett Bowser. Um, so it is appropriate that he gets kicked out by his own captain. Um, it is a little tough for everyone else. Like I think that cost you a spot in the top four.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so kind of sucks for some other people that Eric is still having lingering effects over. But we'll see how it all plays out in playoffs. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
which I am glad that I'm the person who has to pay the price for that and not you. Because imagine how much that would have sucked if you were in top four and then that game got replayed and then you got put into fifth against Garrett. Because that is the matchup, as I have to run it back against Garrett. And the second time we played was a true zero tie. I think both games just about went to overtime or were decided in the last couple seconds. So that's going to
Yeah.
be a crazy series. But like you alluded to, Eric, out of the 6 teams that were all vying for playoffs, was the odd team out. And it's, fair in 2 ways. One, like you said, he was the team that traded away Bowser for no reason at all. And he probably would have made playoffs if he had just kept Bowser. And B, his team just lost twice against its direct competitors.
Yeah.
So you can't even look at resume and make an argument for it. After the experiment is all said and done, do you think that Daisy was a better captain for the Triple Shy Guy team than Bowser?
That's gonna be really tough to say in the end. My answer is gonna be no, just because I think Bowser is a far superior captain.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also am gonna question the commitment to the Triple Shy Guy team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, once again, I think Danny was the one who was yelling at Eric at one point of, "You could change your sidekicks for free. You had one of the best captains in the game in Bowser. Why on earth would you go Triple Shy Guy?" Um, but that's what Eric wanted to do, and I I I do think the initial result, which I did predict,
Yes.
was a false beacon of hope. I think you have a fancy term for it, like the red herring.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I don't know that I think he got after that game he got a tie and 2 losses,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that if he keeps Bowser, frankly, his tie was against a falling off Jacob. Sorry, his win was against a falling off Jacob. His tie was against a bad Hammer Bro team. I think if he keeps Bowser, he might go 3-1 and 3-0 and 3 there. 3 wins, no losses, and 3 ties, and make playoffs.
Right.
But sorry, not 3 wins, 1 win
Yeah. I think
instead of
there's a
two.
good chance. I mean, I think Bowser and the Shy Guys would have stood a very good chance against David and or your teams just because that's how good Bowser is. Because I mean, even
Yeah,
like when Eric's team's results weren't going that great, like he still was in playoff contention and still was
yeah.
a very scary team. And I will say that, credits to you. That Eric prediction, even though you didn't go all the way as to predict Eric winning, but him getting false data and false hope from that is the single greatest pred that's been made this entire season. That upset win was unbelievable, but unfortunately, those 3 points weren't able to take him far enough when they
Yeah.
just kind of floundered for the entire rest of the season. I mean, losing by 5 against David's team, um, the eighth team versus the ninth team, essentially at that point. Uh, and I think in terms of power rankings, last time we were struggling to sort of um, sparse out which of the two of them was better. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Eric's already laid down the gauntlet that he'll be running it back with the Shy Guys. So that's great.
Sweet.
Um, if you give me 1 second, I'm gonna try and get the playoff bracket up on the screen. Um,
Sounds good.
I don't know how worthwhile it is to look at the standings just because we have the playoffs right here. Um, but anyway, this is how things shaked up. So just to kind of run through, Warriors FC, which is Colin, sniped the first seed. Lemons, which is Grant's team, sniped the second. Freddie snuck in at third on his late season surge. After the replay game, you solidified fourth. So those are our top 4 teams that are playing in the upper bracket. Um, I ended up in fifth place after the replay game. I guess was it David? Did David end up in sixth?
I believe
I think
so.
off goal difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we did recalculations to decide the sixth and seventh for the two teams that are already playing against each other. Um, Riveting stuff. But those two teams ended up in sixth and seventh, and then Garrett, even though he potentially is like a top 4 team in the league easily, um, is an eighth. So I get the joy of playing him. One interesting thing that I meant to say earlier but completely forgot about was the game between Garrett and Grant. What I think was the first time that Grant had ever been played in the mirror matchup of sidekicks and lost definitively. So that's interesting. Food for thought. But this is the playoff bracket we ended up with, and I guess we can loop back to this when we do Preds. Um, so for this week's tier list, this is what we ended up with last week under the parameters that we were saying we wanted to break up into 3 tiers. Teams that would be in top 4, teams that would just make the playoffs, and the teams that would be eliminated. So this is what we had. So this isn't necessarily our entire vibe of the teams, but I feel like for this week we should only rank the teams in playoffs. So
Yeah.
gonna go ahead and slide that down there. Um, I think that with this, I think we should consider bracket. I think that we should probably rank this off prospects of winning the entire thing. Does that make sense to
Okay.
you?
Yeah.
Because at this point, what else is there really to consider?
Yeah. Will you do me a favor and then put them in just for initial purposes? Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Okay,
you.
so we're just gonna
Can you?
ignore these teams down here,
Yeah.
um, and maybe we can change these a little bit. I think that we only probably need 3 tiers for this. You think so? That's what I would say. Um, we can we
I
we
feel
can
like
t- Go ahead.
I feel like there is. I feel like there could be a category of could make a run. And I think that would be above Dark Horse. Yeah.
Could make a run. Oh wait, sorry, competitors is could make a run.
Yeah,
I'm gonna leave it as competitors. Um,
I'm good.
and then happy to be here. Okay. All right. Um,
Easy ones first.
yeah.
I'm
Um,
going the other way. Easy ones.
you want to put the ones on the bottom first?
Yeah.
Okay, who do you
In
want
my
down there?
mind, there's two, and it's Luigi and Yoshi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the two in my mind that aren't running some form of a meta.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and despite not being in last place in playoffs, they are. I think Bowser is definitely better than them.
Let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
If Yoshi does make changes, do you see them as a potential dark horse to make a deep run?
Maybe. And I was high on Yoshi's egg roll, but I feel like he's not. The beauty of Yoshi's egg roll is I almost want to take Yoshi. I'm fine with that switch.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm fine. I think that I would rather take Yoshi to Wastelands
Mm-hmm.
because his egg is less effective.
Mm-hmm.
So if he starts adding some dry bones to his team, that'd be beneficial on the grounds that dry bones is good on Wastelands.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking that um, if he makes some changes, yes, but I think that the caliber of team here is so high that I don't know.
Yeah. I think the tricky thing is that I think you're spot on that like just because Jacob hasn't made changes, he is far off the meta, both in terms of character and stage pick. And I feel like Yoshi could be coached to a dark horse position because it's like
Yes.
I don't know how much I want to discuss specific things for people, even though I don't think Jacob will listen. But like I think that he's like there's been so many factors that have kind of like nerfed Yoshi, like you're saying the egg roll seems less effective. Like both, like we saw, like it sucks on Wasteland because he has no traction, and then also too like there's like so many more speed sidekicks than were in week
Yeah.
one, and it's so
Yeah.
much harder for him to get a hold of those. So I still like personally I still think that there is a world where Yoshi could be taken to a higher level. Fuck it, maybe I'll propose a trade to Jacob. Um, but I think in your current assessment, assuming that Jacob doesn't make changes, and then he may not even make the correct ones, I think that's fair. Um, okay. Do you want to go up top, or do you want to go to the next tier and still keep working from the bottom up?
I just want to tell you where to put some people and then talk about it.
Okay, that sounds good.
I want you to put Bowser in competitors,
Okay.
and I want you to grab Waluigi and Donkey Kong and move them down to Dark Horse. And I'm aware of your hesitation to do that. Um, so my argue with competitors being Bowser is he, in my mind, has a scary team. Simply because we haven't seen Bowser with good sidekicks all that much.
Mm-hmm.
He got a tie against you, but he smoked Grant. It really wasn't that close. And so I'm afraid of what he can do if he can get out of the first couple rounds.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he gets to where he's playing the top teams, suddenly all the chips are on the table. Um, if he doesn't get out of round one, I guess you could drop him. This is where I could go, okay, we could make this one list in my mind. I could also, you could go ahead and get rid of competitors and bring Bowser down. Sorry, I'm gonna make
Let
that
me
call.
let me pull up the bracket. Um, just because this is where I kind of get hung up I agree that I think Bowser is a competitor. But so like, and this was very intentional. It wanted to, because if teams in the top four, like once they got, safe from playoffs, they would have absolutely nothing to play for if these stakes weren't the case. So this was
Yeah.
very intentional. But being in the top four is such a boost. So if you guys, so Warriors, Donkeys, Nuts, Lemons, and Fredchester, which includes, um, you know, these two teams right here, you guys in general just have to win two series to get to the grand finals. From the
Yeah.
lower bracket, you have to win one, two, three, four series, twice as many. And
Hmm.
then even if you win and then lose, you still only have to win two series to get to the grand finals.
Yeah.
So it is such an advantage that I would say that, um, if I agree in terms of power level, I think this is probably how I would draw it up. But I think if we're thinking about this in terms of chances to win, I think that that is a significant enough nerf to Bowser, because like let's just go through like a mock up. What
Do you want to do Preds real fast?
um
Because I feel like my Preds that I've made impact the results of why I'm putting people in certain spots.
okay. Well, let's do that, and then we can loop back, because I think you're right. I think it's going to be impossible to um really suss things out otherwise. So let's because I also think that it'll make you. Do you want to predict through the whole bracket?
We can, yeah.
Yeah, I don't really see any reason not to. Um, all right. Well, let's just go through it, because I feel like it's going to be impossible to
Yeah.
really do this otherwise. So
I'll go first on this one because I'm in it. I'm gonna take Colin here.
okay,
I I know that I got a win against him in the middle of the season. He's made a roster change. I don't think that it happens again. I think it's in three.
okay. So you think it's a game three series? We'll just
It's
say how many games.
yeah,
Um, okay. Yeah, and I don't think we should talk too much through the matchups, especially ones that we're a part of. I think it's
yeah.
fair for us to talk through other matchups, but ones that we're a part of, I don't think so. Um, shoot, this is really tough. Um, it's hard for me to think about this without, leaking anything on either side.
Feel free to leak anything Colin's doing.
Yeah. I actually am gonna go ham. Um, and I'll say if you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it in two. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
I
I'm
would
not.
agree with that.
What'd you
I
say?
would agree that if I'm gonna win in two, and I think if Colin's gonna win, it's gonna be in three.
Yeah. Um, yeah. We don't have to dive into that any further.
Yep, that's fine.
Lemons versus Fredchester United. Um, I think I'll take the first pred on this one. Um, I'm gonna go Fred, and I think
Really?
this is because um I don't think Grant's gonna do map picks and bans.
Mm,
And
I
so
see. I see.
Fred is gonna get Wasteland through. There's a high chance of it, at least, because if that doesn't randomly get selected as Grant's first ban, then that gets
Yeah,
through, and you already know that Fred's gonna pick that.
yeah.
And then I do have faith in the double dry bones to probably get it done on one other map. So that's my reasoning for that. Not necessarily because I think Fred's a better team, and I think that if he were to be playing against Colin, or you, that I probably wouldn't pick him.
I'm gonna differ from you again. I'm gonna go lemons.
Okay,
I just think that the team is better. Um,
you go in two or three.
that's three.
Okay. Well, I see why we are struggling with our
Rankings.
yeah. And maybe we flip a virtual coin to decide these because we're not going to
Yeah.
get far in our bracket prediction at all.
No.
This is not going to help us run a mock bracket whatsoever. Which is great. Do you want to give a pred on this next one?
This is the one that I truly am struggling with the most because all the data in my mind suggests you, but I want to pick Garrett. Um, and by data I mean week 8 when you played him twice. And I
Mm-hmm.
know you only played him once in those 2 games, but one game didn't count and you played him,
Mm-hmm.
which gave us some interesting data. Um, I'm gonna Totem Hotspurs. I'm gonna go Austin. I think that the data exists, and I think that it could continue. I'm gonna go 3.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think it's gonna be a close 3 games. Like I think at least 2 of them are going to extra time.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree, mainly just because if I don't, my season's over.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to say anything else there.
Yeah.
Um, the fact that
Princess of the
what did you
this
say?
this game is so different tiered than every other one. And this is why, like, in my rankings, it goes Colin Grant at the top because they're both straight into day 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to put essentially the winner of lower bracket A and the loser of upper bracket A. No. Oh, shoot. I'm just realizing that I'm in the wrong spot. I'm upset about that. I was thinking I was getting the winner of this game, and I am not.
Which I was going to talk to the other commissioners about, but we haven't had a conversation. But I do think that if you were to go based off seeding rather than the teams in the tournament, this is the correct way to do it. Because in theory, then, like if you go off chalk, so 1-4 play, if you're going off chalk, one wins and that sends four to the lowers. And then four would then play five and so forth.
Yeah.
So
I,
I think this
it,
is we haven't had that discussion yet, but I think when you put some thought into it, this is the right way to do it.
it's absolutely the correct way to do it. It's just I had truly thought I was in the other game, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where I was mistaken, and that makes me sad. Just because that means that I can't talk to you after. In theory, if I lose and you win, we cannot talk shop to figure out
No,
who.
which there's no guarantee in either of those things.
Yeah.
But who do you have in Princess and the Toads versus Come on, Mr. Monty?
Give me come on Mr. Monty with a change. I
Okay,
think he makes a roster change and wins game 1.
okay. I'm trying to see when they played against each other. I have no memory of that. It was a +1 tie for Jacob.
Week 7.
Yeah.
Recent.
+1 tie. So you're saying Jacob? You're saying is he getting it done in three?
Absolutely not. It's sorry, yes, absolutely. It's 3. it's this game's going to be long and drawn out and not as exciting in my mind.
The question is there anything that, because I do think David, is further. David is very tapped into the meta despite being off meta.
Yes, I won't
Which
argue that statement. That makes no sense. But I do understand what you're saying.
I
Um,
think he understands it and has watched a crap ton, but
yeah,
refuses to adapt.
yeah.
Um, is there any way that he can influence these map picks in favor of his team?
I think so. Absolutely. I
Okay.
absolutely think so. I don't want to. I don't want to talk on it, but I absolutely do believe so.
Okay. Um, if that's true, I would go David
Okay.
because I do
I
think
don't hate. I think that's a coin flip, and I think both of the lower brackets are coin flips. I think that the upper brackets are not coin flips,
yeah, I I think that's all
despite
true.
us disagreeing on 3 of 4 picks.
All right. Well, let's. We're gonna need to do some coin flipping here. So for first one, Colin's gonna be heads, and you're gonna be tails.
Oh boy. Tails never fails. Tails never fails. Let's
Tails
go.
never fails. He is going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put you in. I think that might be off screen for the podcast. No, it's on, just barely. All right, so that puts you up there. Grant versus Fred. Flip a coin. Tails again. So in chalk, the coin has chosen the upset, the theoretical upset twice, which looks great for me. Which I can't believe I chose that for both. Um,
Law of large numbers. Me too.
sends Colin into the lowers against me, and then Grant into the lowers against David. Ah,
Flip the coin. It's gonna be heads this time.
okay. Because part of me is like, I'm not as like, if you believe in Jacob, then I'm not as 50-50. Like I don't think this is a 50-50 necessarily. Okay, well it's heads, so we can I can hold on to that pred, and Jacob can move on.
You might want to shout that I just went 3 for 3 on coin toss predictions.
He is the Oracle.
Uh,
Oh man, so this is gonna really fuck with our tier list.
yeah.
This is gonna we were doing this to help us.
I don't think we go back to the tier list if I'm being honest. I think we do this and we call it there.
Okay.
Yeah. Just because there's no way we can make a tier list off of this. I don't think either of us believes that me and Fred are both going to win.
Oh no.
Uh, I
um.
think, however, if I beat Colin,
Mhm.
I think you beat Colin.
Yes, yes, yes. How many games?
3 again. It's gonna be a mirror. Is that and that's what I'm saying. Colin's gonna have to make a change in the middle of the
Right.
week, and I don't think any change he makes is actually going to help him.
You think if he loses to you, he's just chalked against me?
I do. I because I don't really don't know what change he would make. Maybe adding another dry bones, which I don't
Yeah.
know if he's already doing.
Uh-huh.
Um, but like I don't know what he does there that you can't react. I mean, you don't get to see it ahead of time, but I genuinely think that you get to see his team against me and then make a reaction based on that.
I'm gonna pick Colin just because I feel like this deserves to go to the coin.
I won't argue that. I do think Colin makes it to the grand final. I'm not here to be like, no, Colin, you're out in the first round. That's not what I'm saying.
That's what it's kind of sounding like. He's getting bounced 2-0 according to him.
I'm just saying, according to my Fred, he won the first round. The coin
Oh.
just
Dude, we could maybe. Oh man, we should go back and retroactively correct this because we're giving the coin so much power, and it's it's shaking things up. But I don't think this one's going to go to the coin. If
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
I honestly, this could be Granton too.
yeah, I think there's a good chance of that. I would not debate in either way. I do think that across 3 games he would win, and I don't think map pick would be that essential against Jacob. Although we did talk about the potential of a wasteland counter. Um, but I don't think either of them will be too tabbed into maps.
I'm
Okay, so
absolutely rolling Fred.
we got to do a coin first here.
Oh my.
Yeah. So um Colin,
What
have I been wait, have I been doing this wrong? Oh no.
do you mean? You're good.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, I'm
good.
good. So Colin is heads, I'm tails. I'm just trying to make sure I'm consistent and not manipulating.
Congrats on your playoff spot. No.
No, I'm gone. Rest in peace.
I mean, he deserves to be here.
Well, in this to go back to our tier list, this is kind
This
of
is
what
the.
I'm saying is that, like,
I think the winner of the first series matters a lot. The
yeah,
loser of the first series,
you're
it
still in
makes
trouble.
you're still in trouble.
Yeah.
And that's where you and I differing on that is going to drive our tier list very differently.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I think that I think I messed up, but I do think that one of these two will end in a theoretical quote unquote upset. I don't know why I picked you over Colin.
I
Um,
don't either.
d- Permission to go back, or are we stuck here?
You're welcome to.
Yeah, let's rewrite. No, this gets way then we play each other, and then it's just as. But that feels
We
more
get
like
there.
an actual coin flip.
I agree that that's what I think is going to happen.
Okay, well let's. No, I'll go three.
Okay.
Let's go there. Let's go there. I'm assuming this is right. Assuming
Yeah.
that's right. Um, all right, you ready to flip our
Okay.
season?
Yeah. I was way more excited about this when I thought I was playing the winner of Dave
Yeah.
Jacob.
You thought you had just snuck your way into the sweetest bracket spot of all time.
Yeah. Like I either win and go really far, or I lose and play winner of Dave Jacob. Nope.
Yeah,
Lives on tail.
you got tails. Okay, I'll take heads. And he's gone. Let's go. He never should have let me go back in history.
Yeah.
Um,
Colin smokes Fred here. I think if Fred gets out in the first one here, I think Fred gets double bounced here, if I'm being honest.
you think?
I do. I genuinely do.
I guess Collins' team already beat Triple Dry Bones.
Yeah.
So
It did lose to Triple Dry Bones.
yeah, but he beat Freddy's Triple Dry Bones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so that means Colin goes there. Um,
This is another coin flip. I genuinely just want to make it a coin flip. I don't even want to write down a name.
okay, I I have a lot of faith in myself in that series. But we'll go to the coin. I'm heads. Grant's tails.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah, all good. just for history's sake. Garnt. Oh, dude, and that would honestly be the beauty of the simulation, where we have a full sim team. You know, just someone who's just put their hands up and put their season into God's hands in Grant, and he will have taken him all the way to the lower finals. What am I doing? Um,
I don't know what you're doing. Why do we have three columns?
so that way there's space.
Okay.
Okay, Fred versus Grant.
Give me Grant.
You think Grant wins the run back?
Yep.
I
I'm gonna disagree with that. I'm gonna disagree with that. If Grant's not paying attention, I think it's gonna be Fred.
Yeah, I think that this holds true for all the same reasons I cited in the first round, where I think that there's gonna be, especially by now, I think Freddie will have a lot of data if he makes it this far, not just on
Yeah.
his team, but on Grant's team,
Yeah.
on because we're about to enter like the true beginning of the map meta,
Oh
because
yeah.
like
BOBO
we
fives.
we now, like, before you could just pick your stage, but now you can ban stages for the other person. So I would also go Fred. And these are best of fives. Huh. Actually, is that less of an advantage for Freddy?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Because I think Freddy's team's good on one map.
Yeah, and um he only gets one ban.
Yeah.
And So I mean, Wasteland's getting in there, but I think across any 5 maps other than Wasteland, Grant wins.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. Do we want to? Hmm.
No.
Okay. All right. um, Colin versus Fred. Uh,
Colin.
yeah, I think double ban means Wasteland guaranteed gone.
Yeah.
That means what other maps Colin doesn't like at that point. Um,
Time out. Time out. Time out. This is Grant.
oh, true. Sorry, we had. I think I'd already put that in when we before
Yeah.
we walked it back. Um,
What happened in their previous matchup? Was it a tie?
it was a tie, but it was early in the season. It was week 2
Before Grant made the meta switch.
before Grant made the
Or
meta switch and before.
also
Go ahead.
before Colin made the meta switch is where I was going. I think you were going the same way.
Exactly. I think it was a double Thunder Island matchup with their just default teams. So a lot has changed since then, and a lot may change throughout the playoffs. Well,
All I'm gonna say is if Grant makes it here, I would just want him to turn it on, watch the stream
that's all that you ask. Well, I know you said that we shouldn't do it, but I do think we can go back here real quick, and I think if we slide Bowser into here,
then I think everything's fine.
yeah. Do we want to
Just
leave
delete,
Comptitor?
leave Computors just for the memory, and that's it. I'd also
or,
like to
or or
change.
or or are we Comptitors? I think that's
Mm,
more accurate than Dark Horse.
Okay, okay. Um, I do somehow think that Freddy is the number one seed in the Competitors, sorry. Um,
What about
but
what about that?
no, 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 no. Because he's not a step above us. It's just that his bracket's easier.
Which I do think is important because, like you were fantasizing about for yourself,
Whoa.
even if he loses, he then plays this matchup.
Yeah,
I think this is valid. I think that Freddie has a better chance of going deep in this tournament than any of us do. I think he plays against Grant in round 1, which is I think a definitively, even though it's probably going to be about the same thing in terms of what they run, it's going to be definitively easier than playing against Colin. Would you disagree?
yeah.
I think
I,
if
I'd agree.
I think if he goes into this game here against the winner of Come On Mr. Monty and Princess and the Toads, I wouldn't be surprised if he's beaten both those teams already. Um, and
If you go, oh, sorry, go ahead.
and I was just gonna say, from then it's really anyone's game. And then
Yeah,
also too to put some respect on Freddie, like we said, he has had the best second half of the season.
yeah.
But what were you gonna say?
If you go back to the rankings,
Mm-hmm.
the only I'm going to put myself above you and Garrett on the grounds that I'm coming from the upper bracket, so I only have to beat one of you, not both of you.
You're saying like to have it ordered like this?
And then I'm gonna switch you and Bowser on the grounds that you did win once and tie once in the alleged 2 games that you've played.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I'm not
I
gonna
think
argue
changes.
with you. Um,
I think changes will be made, and I think it'll be a different game. But I do think that that's how I think that plays out.
yeah. I think there definitely is a world where you beat Colin. You are the only
Hmm.
person, right?
Yep.
The only person to have done it. Um, which kind of makes me want to put you into regular Compti tours.
No.
Um, but, but I think if we look at the bracket, there's a strong chance that you, me, or Garrett, like we're in the scrum together.
Yeah.
and it's fitting that we all have the same captain type. I do think that Garrett's is, a little bit better than ours, um, but he is the 8 seed. Um,
Yeah,
so I think I feel good about this.
I'm okay
Um,
with this.
I think the only things that I could potentially do is this and this, but that I think in terms of honoring the bracket that's put forth in front of us, this is true.
I'm good with this.
Yeah. Okay.
Also, congrats to Colin winning chip.
Yeah. I want to see. I want to. We should both make our own. Well, I was talking about we should do like as many people who want to submit a bracket. Just because
Yeah,
I would like to see yours. I would also like to see how many people actually pick Colin to win.
yeah.
Like what are the odds of Colin versus the field? Because
I also, how many teams are not going to pick themselves?
yeah, I mean, I genuinely, if I was making an actual bracket, I do not think I would pick myself to go all the way. Just starting in the lowers. Um, but real quick, let's segue to our lovely sidekick tier list. We talked about this briefly before the pod actually. And you said you wanted to bump Toad and Boo up with Monty.
I think I actually want to put Monty below him.
Okay,
And that might be a hot take, but my logic for it is in my mind, and I think I want to put Toad in front of Boo.
I agree.
The meta is some combination of either Dry Bones Toad or Dry Bones Toad and Boo.
Mm-hmm.
Monty's on a, is he on what, 2 teams?
Something like that. He's
And he's
on
doing all right, but I don't think that he deserves to be above anyone on the meta.
in the playoffs. There is one Monty.
Yeah,
And in the overall league, there was only two in week 8.
yeah.
Um, and I think that you're right in terms of honoring the meta. This is the correct thing. I do think that Toad has slightly edged out Boo, but not by too much.
No,
And yeah, everything else about this feels pretty good. One interesting Hammer Bro stat, just because I love Hammer Bro stats because he's such an anomaly. In the final week, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 8 Hammer Bros, and only one of those was on a team. Well, 2 of those were on teams in the playoffs, and one of them was on Colin's team and was only run for a single series as a matchup check. Um, how do you feel about that? Or I think this is at least true.
that I was thinking about. I
Yeah,
don't think he should be on the same tier as Monty.
yeah. Um, is this right
No, I I understand the logic, but I also disagree with it.
on what grounds?
They're not as bad. I don't have a lot of stats to back it.
You don't think Shy Guy's as bad as Birdo?
I don't think so. I'll put him in the same tier, but just put him above Berto. I'll agree to that.
Because I think that something has to be said about the Shy Guys being fully eliminated from the league, and it was in their hands, and they
Fair.
they they screwed it. Would a team of
Granted,
Triple Birdo done better? I don't know. We never even got close to seeing that.
we'll never know.
We'll never
The
know.
follow-up question I would ask is it on the Shy Guys truly, or is it on their captain slash
It's
owner?
um yeah, it's but if Eric wasn't if Eric there would be no Shy Guys in the league if it weren't for Eric.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Yeah.
how we have it. I don't feel the need to move anybody. I'm just saying that I I don't know that it is entirely the Shy Guys' fault.
Yeah, but also too with the fact that no one else is running a Shy
That's
Guy
fair.
at all is telling, and they've all been ejected
That's
because
fair.
there were some in the league. So Like you can't tell me that Shy Guy is like, if you had to pick a Hammer Bro or a Shy Guy to add to your team, what would you do?
Is there a Hambro in the playoffs?
There's one on Jacob's team currently, and there's one on Colin's team currently.
Okay.
So they're like 2 for 8 in terms of being on playoff teams.
Okay.
Um, gosh, yeah. Well, we're really struggling for content here. Well, we already did Preds, so we're in the
Yeah.
home stretch. Um, real quick, we're gonna do a map tier list, and so this is based off our feelings and interpretations of the map. Just after having watched so many games, this is not how we are gonna run the maps. This is not matchup dependent. This is just um general vibes of the map. Um,
Colin, everything I say here is gonna be a lie.
this is time for some major head games. I'm gonna start off with something that I don't know if you'll agree with, and we can obviously temper it. But I want to put Lava Pit in S tier just because I think it's really funny. Um, it injects like the right amount of chaos, in my opinion. Like it doesn't. It has one gimmick, and that's that fire falls from the sky, which is top tier. And also too, I think it's really great when the sidekicks get lit on fire, and then they run into the electric fence. Which, holy crap! Like, what a horrible sentence to say out loud. But I just like every time I see a game on Lava Pit, I feel like it's fun and exciting for all the right reasons. So
I'm gonna remember. I don't remember which week it was. Waluigi just sat in the lava, I swear, for 45 seconds. That's obviously an exaggeration, but it was a long time. And then he got up and ran into the electric fence as well. Um,
my one of my favorite interactions too is like when the ball is near the lava and the sidekick is capable of getting the ball without running into the lava. Sometimes they'll be scared and they'll just run next to the ball until the lava goes away. So
or they'll run next to the ball for a long, next to the lava for a long time, and then decide, no, I need to go get the ball, and then run into the lava immediately. They'll
yeah,
get the ball, and instead of turning around and going back the exact same way they came, or passing the ball or anything, just immediately straight into lava. Just great.
yeah,
Top tier content.
yeah. And that's what I mean. And that's what this tier list is. Like I said, I don't know how many games I've played on the lava pit all season, but I like watching it. Um, are there any other maps that you want to put in S tier?
I'm gonna shout Thunder Island, and you're gonna tell me that it can't be an S, and I'm gonna be okay with that. But I enjoy just watching a fish fly across the map. Even if it doesn't hit anybody, it's just funny. Or a cow. It just every time it happens, somebody goes cow, and then the cow just rolls through and kills 5 people. And it's just hilarious.
You see, like I know that you think that I dislike Thunder Island. I dislike playing on Thunder Island, and I also have a slight aversion to it just because of the sheer quantity. But for all the reasons you're stating, and also to like same thing with Lava Pit, there are like so many like individual instances like that have happened where the map has like made me burst out laughing.
Yeah,
Which you can't say that about too many others. I remember there was one time, I think it was, I don't know who you were playing against, but there was like the game was like winding down, like important like pressure time, and you go up. Donkey Kong is charging up a Mega Strike with no one around, and you're sitting in the corner, so we can't see what's coming at all. And then all of a sudden, a cow comes and just knocks him off. Just like, which is just like stuff like that's like so funny. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm actually like I'm totally cool with that. I think those are the two most fun maps. Um,
I also will stay. I think there was a point in time where I was playing a game on Thunder Island, and I went, "Do I have anyone on the map right now?" And I think I did have one person on the map in the end. But the fact that that's a question that I can ask in the middle of a game is crazy.
yeah.
Um,
And the AI gets
so
so confused when they're the only player on their team. They don't know what to do. I think most of the time they
absolutely,
just charge the ball up and boot it. Like they don't even run to the other half of the field and take a shot.
yeah.
It's really funny when there's no defenders. Okay.
I've got two picks for. I'm gonna go 2-2-2, and we'll go BD if you're good with that. Unless you want to go ABC or AB.
You're
however you
you're
want to
saying
split
you're
it.
saying that there's a full gap between those and the next ones?
I would agree.
Okay. What would you put in the next tier?
It's gonna be Thunder Island and Sand Tomb.
Thunder Island? You
Oh,
mean
hold on. I'm realizing that there's too many maps here. I don't mean Thunder Island, first of all.
uh-huh.
I mean Wastelands and Sand Tomb.
Interesting. You want to put so you want to let's because I feel like since there's 7 maps, we may have more
Yeah,
distinguishments
yeah. I
here.
thought there was six. I'm. There's the classroom and Vice. Which map? What's the other map?
This is the dump.
Ah, class. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good to not do tiered, like I was suggesting.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if we'll utilize all tiers, but I feel like we'll end up using 4.
in this case,
Tell me what is the through line between Wastelands and the Sand Tomb? Because I see those and I see polar opposites.
interesting. I'm gonna actually ask you to drop Wasteland to B and leave Santu in A. And I'm more than happy to have a discussion with you on this. I love Santu. First of all, the thwomps are hilarious.
True, true,
And
true.
then love watching incredibly slow people run even slower in the sand tomb, especially when it's not my team that I need to go get the ball. But it's hilarious no matter what. And then there's like a good team on the sand tomb just like getting absolutely interrupted by the thwomps just raining in the middle. I swear in one of the games in week 8, like 8 thwomps dropped in the first 5 seconds. And it's just like it's the chaos factor. It's not as much chaos as the 2 in S tier, but it's the chaos factor.
Yeah.
Um,
And I'd say the difference is also like the Sand Tomb, like the first two kind of feel like more like slightly controlled chaos. The Sand Tomb, like there's just so much happening, and it is
yeah,
fun. But like the because there's like the lava pit, like I said, just has the lava. I guess Thunder Island has 3 gimmicks. There's like no bounds on the stage. There's the animals, and there's also wind. And then the Sand
yeah,
Tomb has wind, sand, and thwomps. Um,
yeah.
and I think I just like what's going on in the S tier maps a little bit more, but I think that's fair. Um, can I slide another map into A? Which I'm
Which one
I'm
are you gonna try and do?
I'm realizing that this is not gonna be as big of a pull for you because you don't listen to the matches with any audio. Um, but the music on the classroom is just like chef's kiss. And it's a vanilla map, like there's not really too much to hate about it, but oh my god, that this the sweet sweet music is just it's just a good beat, and I'm always happy to be
I cannot agree, but
there.
I will not fight you on it.
For those
Is
for
what I'll say.
if I take it you don't know, but
I
for the week 8 VOD, since we had no audio, um due to our incredibly like great and high tech setup
it
of
worked.
sound when we were all in the same room, I just put the classroom music over all 3 hours of the footage. It was great. uh so
Yeah.
if you want to put Sand Tomb in A, I'm right up there with the classroom in A.
Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the rest of mine then, because the Vice is gonna go to C and the Dump's gonna stay in D. I like Wastelands because there's a gimmick, ice. It's funny to watch. People just slide around, and then the lightning just adds a little bit of chaos. Like I didn't put it together probably until the second week that people were really playing on the Wasteland that Critter can get electrocuted,
Mm-hmm.
and Wastelands has brought us the only own goal of the season, which was hilarious in my mind because it didn't happen to me. Sorry,
True.
Fred. Um, I think that it's a funny map, but I don't think it's anywhere near the other 3 funny maps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think my distaste of Wasteland comes from how much I've had to watch Dry Bones gameplay on that map.
Yeah,
Because pretty much every series where we go to Wasteland has at least 2 Dry Bones on the field, if not 3.
yeah.
Um, which is kind of
If not
gross.
6.
What'd you say?
If not 6 on the map.
Yeah, it's that. Yeah, I wasn't even multiplying that by 2. But that's nothing wrong with the Wasteland. I think the like you said, the critter electrocution is funny. Um, I also don't know if you know this, but when the lightning strikes, sometimes it fully charges the ball. Um,
I did not know
but
that.
sometimes it doesn't. So you can't bet on it consistently. Plus, we have no control over what happens. So I'm fine. I'm fine with that. And B, um, I ca-
The Vice in C in my mind is just because it's a very neutral map. I
yeah,
have literally no feelings about the Vice.
yeah. And the music isn't there,
I'm sorry to hear
which I know is big
that.
big for you. Um, the only thing that the Vice has going for it is that like sick little like the little thing that looks like the robot from The Incredibles that the villain, what's his name, Syndro. Like it looks like one of those robots and it shoots out the fireworks. Um, that on the Vice sometimes after people score. That is my one draw to the Vice is that it's got that thing, but I'm pretty sure some of the other maps do too.
I've never
Um,
seen that, if I'm being honest with you.
yeah, that's okay. Every now and then it'll pop up on the screen and someone will be like, "What the hell did I just see?" And I think I'm the only one that's caught on to what it is. But anyway,
Okay.
there's a little thing that shoots out fireworks on the Vice. That's cool.
I'll be
Um,
looking forward to it. Well, I'll pay attention when we eventually play on the Vice in playoffs, because eventually we should play on the Vice in theory.
yeah.
In theory.
I mean, surely when we get to the best of fives.
I can't imagine someone banning the Vice, but maybe? Maybe? We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what people want. My beef with the dump is there's never good gameplay on the dump.
But isn't that
It's just a bad match to watch, no matter what. And it doesn't look appealing. It's raining. I just have I'm imagining playing soccer myself in knee-deep sewage mud. And there's no part of me that ever wants to be anywhere near the dump.
um I I hear you. And I think there's a good chance that D stands for dump, but I also think it has brought us like it's not good gameplay, but it has brought us some of the most fun gameplay. I'm pretty sure like several like of our longest overtimes are all on the dump for good reason, just because it's just a crap show, and there's like
Yeah.
a lot of really tight OTs. Maybe not, but it's also S tier, but it's also how's that?
I will agree with that a lot more. I was gonna let you have S tiered, but I was never gonna personally agree to it.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right that the dumb just brings out some scrummy games, but I think they're usually really fun. Mainly just because
Yeah,
so many of them go to overtime. Like and once again, really great reference that you're gonna love. It's really funny like when we have like really long overtimes, like how much the dumps audio repeats, like the music. I know that that probably gets stuck in your head sometimes, Hamilton.
all the time.
Um, yeah,
No
but
game audio, all the time.
yeah, totally relatable moment. But I feel pretty good about this. You know, like we said, this is for the purpose of just, having watched all these maps a good bit, that this is just kind of like how we feel. Let me
Colin,
see. Where did I thought I
Colin,
had
you should read into this a lot.
real quick, just because we're talking about maps, I do think this timeline is kind of cool just to highlight now that we've gone through everything, and in the future it's going to be skewed by the fact that there's map picks and bans. But we started off week one with just like only 4 maps, and out of all of them, you know, really high percentage, like 9 of the 12 games or 10 of the 12 games were on Thunder Island and Lava Pit, just terrible. Week two, it somehow reverted to the classroom, um, which was interesting. And then finally in week three, we saw some diversity. Just because 2 of our captains picked Thunder Island and never changed, that's always going to be there pretty strong. Then we saw week four, like a good looking even pie. Like I think if you split a pie up this way and gave it to people, like most people wouldn't be too upset. This
Maybe the
person would
person
be.
getting Thunder Island.
What'd you say?
Maybe the person getting Thunder Island.
It depends on how good the pie is, right?
Fair.
Um, Crazy week here. Lots of ice. Uh, and yeah, no, it was just cool just because this did like genuinely fluctuate throughout the season, almost as much as the sidekicks did.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to week 8, you can see like there are teams that, have like a strong preference. We had a bunch of teams that would like pick the Wasteland, and just like all sorts of crazy stuff, people trying to go to the Sand Tomb for upsets. So it was cool to see that fluctuate. And I do think that, we are at the point where map picks are going to become way more important. So
Yeah.
I'm excited for that because that's a new element that's going to be added to the playoffs. Um, yeah. Overall, how are you feeling about the first season, the first regular season of SPL?
I think it's been a blast. I think I was talking with you last weekend, or was that last weekend? Really? Has it only been a week? Just like this is about having fun, and it's definitely been fun. I've been lucky enough to win some, which has made it more fun. But I think even like Danny at the bottom has enjoyed an element of just, getting on and hanging out. Um, and that's what it's all about. Um, and so I think that it's been a blast, and I think that it's by far our best no consolation event that we've run. Um, Excited for season 2. I think we got some fun changes. I also think we got some other fun ideas down the pipeline. In theory, should have no consolation being fairly active for a decent chunk of time. But we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to echo. This is, this clears anything else that no consolation has done by a very good margin. I think in pretty much every metric. So I'm super stoked about that. The most important metric being fun, um,
Yeah,
which I'm super excited because like I genuinely like I appreciate everyone taking a leap of faith because I think everyone had played some form of Mario Strikers before, but I don't know if anyone else, like literally anyone else, had played Strikers Charged. Um, which everyone, got into it, and I think genuinely is pretty knowledgeable. Couldn't pick up a controller and play to save their life. But a lot of people know a lot about the game, which is cool.
yeah.
Um, and it ended up being like pretty darn competitive. And I think mostly across the board, people who put more effort in did better. But certainly, I think in future seasons, or at least season 2, people will have even more agency and autonomy in their own hands. Um, and I do want to give a minor shout out to Eric for like injecting a level of excitement that I did not think this season would have. Because if he hadn't done that, I think things would have been significantly more boring and there would have been less for us to talk about. So, shouts out to Eric for that. Um, so, Hamilton, I close with the same question that I asked you in the beginning, this time with more warning as I talk long, and this
You're
time
good.
with more data and thought. Um, who is winning SPL season 1?
I'm I'm a I disrespected him early, and I'm a throw some respect on his name. And if he wants to prove me wrong this time, I won't complain either. But I think Colin's gonna take it. I think Warrior is probably the best captain, and he's found the meta. And he's also paying attention, which means his map picks will be good consistently.
Well,
I think he's a complete package.
you heard it here from the man who somehow went holy crap. I don't even know, man. You went, I'm trying to do the math. 14 for
18.
14 for 18 in
Yeah.
the last 2 weeks of competition, which considering before that, weren't you like 50-50 or pretty darn close,
Yep.
maybe a little bit
Pretty close to
over.
that.
Yeah. To turn that around, the future has been predicted. Sign sealed delivered. It's like you're up by 2 and there's 3 minutes left in the game. No possible chance for change. But yeah, that's a wrap for today. Thanks, y'all.